Hello, hello. How are you guys? This is Sacred Para, RK with Sacred Para. And I am here with you today with my mini Sheeta. And we are so very glad on this Saturday after Thanksgiving holiday, and it's still in the midst of the holiday weekend, to be able to talk to you guys about play therapy, and most specifically adult play therapy. Hello everyone, thank you for joining. I got Coach Play, that's my husband, that's Coach Play with an I and not a Y. Any of your nutritional questions that you may have, you want to get motivated and encouraged for working out, you're in this local area, or virtually, contact Coach Play and he will be able to help you in that specific area. Also, I got Doll Mama on here. Thank you, Doll Mama, for joining. It's a bit later than usual, and I hope that my eyes do not go cross or that I happen to close my eyes and go to sleep, because this is a little bit late for me. But I wanted to get on here and have a holiday special and talk to you guys because I have a reveal. Yes, I have this beauty right here. Christmas came early, guys. This is a Naturalista. Beautiful. As you guys know, Naturalista is a Black-owned company, and their dolls featured on the back. 2 of them are missing, but these dolls are a special line of dolls featuring various hair textures that is familiar within the Black culture, and showing young ladies and even us adult ladies how to be able to embrace and properly take care of our hair. In our very last live together, I spoke about the importance of representation. Representation is so very important. That's why we're seeing fashionistas in the Barbie community, hello, and the doll community that are in wheelchairs, that have green hair, that have a hearing aid. Hi, Aunt Edna. Thank you for joining. So you're seeing all these different dolls that represent people in our global community. And it's so very important that we see different cultures be able to produce their own dolls. So that goes for the first indigenous nations, that goes for the Asian culture, that goes for whoever, to be able to produce a doll line that represents themselves versus having someone else tell their story, right? So being able to embrace and have this doll right here, hi there, is such a very awesome and amazing pleasure. Thank you for joining, Aunt Edna. So I'm going to be doing this unboxing. I know I kind of blended that all in. Hello, Aunt Edna. And I'm about to be doing this unboxing right here. I'm really excited. On the back of here, it does give a bio. And this is Kelsey. So for anybody who is interested and they go, what doll is that? This doll is Hi Fairy of the Wind 2001. This doll right here is the Kelsey doll. And again, it's part of the Naturalista line. I was just so pleasantly pleased about a week or 2 ago in which they featured me in their story. And you can see that on my feed. I was elated. So like I said, Christmas did come early. And I am excited to open up this box. All right, so on the very back of the box, it says, I'm Kelsey. A New York native, Kelsey is a talented fashion designer and founder of Naturalista's Clothing with a degree in fashion from a top design school. Kelsey uses her platform as a well-known designer to support the careers of aspiring natural hair models. Kelsey's motto is natural hair is chic. And her hairstyle is a blowout, in case anybody wants to know. Hello, Texas Dolls. Thank you for joining. And her hair type is a 4B. Like I said, within our Black culture and in our African American culture, this particular doll has a 4B texture. We each as individuals have different textures of hair, just as I'm sure that in other cultures there are different textures of hair, but I'm most familiar with my own culture, and we have a 4B, we have a 4C culture. It just has to do with how textured the hair is, how much coil or curl that there is. In case anyone goes, what does that mean? It just has to do with if the hair is more closely curled to the scalp, or is it more of a loose curl? I love your stories. Who is she going to be? Oh, thank you. But you got to stay connected to my story so you can see. I don't want to give it away, but she's definitely going to be a part of my story. So her box, as you can tell, she has tabs, which makes it super easy to take her out, which I love. I love the tabs. I have noticed tabs with some of the other boxes that I've recently opened. But I love that the Naturalista brand does have these tabs. And Fairy the Wind says that she has her. I love her. Or have her. What's her Made to Move match? Actually, I am going to keep her. Look at that. That was like very easy to open. I'm going to keep her on her body. Most of the dolls that I do have. Oh, her box got ripped. Most of the dolls that I do have are on Made to Move bodies, as you can tell with my mini right here, as well as some of my dolls are, and I'll lift her up. And this is not a sponsored, live. This was actual individual purchase. Like I said, Christmas came early, and I'm very, very thankful. But I usually do have some type of gentle articulation or a Made to Move body. But I really want to keep her on this body because this is the body that the Naturalista company has for her. And so I want to keep up with the integrity of the company versus me removing her head and putting her body onto, or putting her head onto a different body. So that's just my personal decision. I have nothing against anything that someone else wants to do. Just for me, I want to keep her on the same body that the company has, because that was what they had chose to do. And I feel like putting her head on a body of a different company would almost be like disrespectful to the work that they've put in. So I can't answer that question. I'm sorry, I can't answer the question because I plan on keeping her on this body. So right now I'm just removing her from her package. Her legs were clamped in. Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for joining. I think that's Doll Stilettos. Thank you for joining. I wave to you. Thank you. And then her arms are in here as well. I'm not very certain if her head is, but we're going to find out, right? But thus far, I'm enjoying the factor being that the packaging is not a difficult process. I just don't want to clip her hair. So right now I'm just moving her hair out of the way. And one of the things that I personally really enjoy about the Naturalista line is that they have dolls that have a lot of hair. Now, in my own personal storyline, you may not see dolls with a whole lot of hair. And that's just mainly because of the dolls that I have on there. I don't have any disagreement with the doll having a lot of hair. But I believe that for the purposes of this being a doll representation, it's so very important to show dolls with hair. And I'm going to tell you why. I would go to work in my younger years and go to school, and I would hear people say things like, oh, well, black people don't grow their hair long. That must be a weave. That must be a wig. Even with my locks, I was told, are those extensions? And I would be like, no, those aren't extensions. Like, literally, this is homegrown since 2014. I grew this out. And it's sad that in our culture, you do hear that a whole lot as far as, is that a weave? Is that a wig? Are those extensions? Because there is this belief that we don't grow our hair. And some of it has been from the experiences that people have had with other people who say, well, I just put weave in my hair. And quite honestly, a lot of your superstars, no matter what race they are, has weave or wig on when they're on TV. So it's unfortunate that that is the perspective of a lot of different people, that we don't grow our hair out, because we do. All you have to do is wash, condition, use product on your hair, take good care of your hair, and it'll grow. Clip the ends when you need to, and your hair will grow the proper way. So it is really, really sad whenever I do hear that being said. But nonetheless, one of the things that I have learned in this process is that if people are not exposed to other cultures, they're going to either assume something for the whole race, or they're going to be told something misleading. So I don't get upset whenever people have a judgment about how our hair grows, because they may not know. And that's what I love about this doll line, is that it is exposing people as to how our hair does grow. And then we do get long hair, long healthy hair. And as long as you are taking care of your hair and doing the proper things, you will be able to have hair that is lengthy and healthy. And it just really does dispel that myth, because that is a myth. So this is Kelsey right here. And as you can tell, she has very nice, lengthy 4B hair. It is brown. It is in a blowout state. And she's very, very pretty. She has a nice, lengthy neck. She has nice, beautiful, detailed features. You can see it really good on the camera, too. I do not see any pixelation, which, of course, that's something that we are always looking at as adult doll collectors. With our photography, we want to make sure that there's no pixelation. I do not see any pixelation. She has these very cute neutral tone brown or tan shoes. Hope you guys can see it. Very, very pretty. I'm going to put it on her. These are nice. If they were bigger, I would definitely borrow them. So representation is so very important, and I am so very glad that she is now part of my collection for the Sacred Para community. She's going to fit right in. I'm definitely going to have her involved in the storyline. So Fairy of the Wind, or Fairy of Wind 2001, you are going to see her. You just got to stay tuned to the story, because I definitely plan on having her in there. I don't know if I'm going to keep her name as Kelsey or not, but she's going to be involved in our story. Is she going to be involved in fashion? I can't tell you. But this is her purse. And it has rubber bands on it. So that's what I'm taking off right now, are the rubber bands. And I do keep rubber bands. Like, even right now with Mini Sheeta, she has a rubber band in her hair. Those rubber bands come in hand. I mean, even for myself, there are times that I put the rubber band in my hair. And the doll rubber bands come in handy. So this purse does move. There's movement. It does not open. And she's got the one shoulder strap going on. Hint, why I got my one shoulder strap on too. Trying to, do a little match. We may have different colors on, but I could at least match with the style, The one sleeve, huh? Let's see here. This is Velcroed in the back for the top. So you can Velcro it on and off. And it looks like these pants just kind of slip on and off. She has an elastic band, which is perfect for the holidays. Perfect for the holidays. I had a sis that wrote me and said how she was going to be celebrating 3 Thanksgiving dinners, and she was going to need her stretchy pants. So this is perfect if you've been, indulging with the festivities of Thanksgiving eating. Her pants are perfect for that, stretchy pants. So she stands up really, really good, and she's looking directly at the camera. I don't see any pixelation. She's a beautiful doll. This is Kelsey, part of the Naturalista line. If you guys are interested, definitely go to the Naturalista Instagram page, as well as go on Amazon. I believe it's Walmart and Target has it. Any of your big chains are carrying their product. Great line. I'm looking forward to getting more of their dolls. And like I said earlier, I do not plan on taking off their head to put it onto a made-to-move body. It's very, very tempting, but I want to really keep the integrity of the doll as such, because they worked really hard to produce this line, and I don't want to just put the head onto a doll brand that is as popular as Barbie. No offense to Barbie. Everyone knows how much I love Barbie. I'm a Barbie girl. Been one since I was probably about 2 or 3. So I have nothing against Barbie. Barbie has helped me along the way in my childhood through fun memories, being able to cope and deal with situations. So I love Barbie as a brand. But I do want to respect their brand as well. So this is Naturalista, very beautiful doll. This is Kelsey. And you will be seeing her in the Sacred Para storyline. Now, let's get into storyline. Let's talk. This won't be as long of a live because it is long. Because it is late. I said because it's long. Because it is late. So I don't want to hold you guys too long. But I do want to talk to you guys about storyline. As you know, these lives are called Anyone Can Play Right. right? And so we're talking about adult play therapy. We're also talking about storyline development and being able to grow and evolve and develop as writers. For those of you who know and those of you who do not know, I am an indie author. You can find the books that I have on Amazon, and it's under my pseudonym of R.K. Lemons Weber. That's a double M for lemons, kind of like a lemon that's sour, but I happen to be sweet like lemonade. So it's lemons-Weber, W-E-B-E-R. And you can find a plethora of books. I believe it's 41 books, no exaggeration, with journals included, as well as the Sacred Para journals are also located on the Amazon site. So you can always get those books there. So this particular live is dealing with adult play therapy, as well as being able to create your storylines and base your characters on your evolving story. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. 1, sometimes you have to wait for the story to speak to you, for the characters to really step out of the shadows and for them to come to you. Sometimes your story is going to be prolonged. And I've talked about this before, that sometimes we can be sitting there going, why haven't I written anything? Or why isn't anything coming to me? And it's very easy to say, I must be suffering with writer's block. And you may be suffering from writer's block. But on the other flip side, it could be that the story is developing and you have to wait for the story to speak to you, for the characters to speak to you. And as you wait and you collect information and you have life experiences that take place and you see different movies and you observe people's interaction with each other, you go, oh, now I know what I can write. Or you may just be waiting for the right doll to be, created and put online. And you go, that's the doll, that's the doll. And then that doll is the one who becomes your character for your story that you were waiting on. So it's okay to wait. I think a lot of times we get very frustrated because we want to be able to post daily and sometimes post 2-3 times in a day. And when we don't do that, and I'm speaking on myself, when we don't do that, we feel like we're letting down our audience. We feel like we're letting down ourselves. But it's really, really important to know it's okay for a story to be delayed, especially whenever you want to put out a story that connects the dots, right? That's 1. 2, static and dynamic characters. And it may seem like what I'm saying is like in different aspects, but these are all going to tie in. Static and dynamic characters. If I was with you in person, I would be like, raise your hand if you've heard of static characters. Raise your hand if you've heard of dynamic characters, but we're doing this virtually. So that's kind of the con of virtuality, not really being able to see one another face to face and having that interpersonal conversation. But nonetheless, I'm hoping that my spirit is connecting with you, my heart's connecting with you, because I'm very, very passionate about story. In fact, you go to my bio on my Instagram page, you'll see that I'm story obsessed. Because it's true. I love story. I don't care if it's black and white, if it's a modern day 2022 movie, if it's a modern day book or a vintage book. I love it. As long as it has a good story. Even the ones that don't have a good storyline, I enjoy being able to read those and watch those movies, because those storylines are the ones that I get a chance to compare and really appreciate a good quality storyline, right? And then on top of that, if you get a chance to read something or watch a movie with a poor storyline, you can kind of go, wow, that was a pothole. Wow, if I would have did that, I would have did that different. And so it generates ideas for you. So never ever neglect a poor storyline, because a lot of great ideas can be generated watching something or reading something with a poor storyline or poor characterization. So like I said, if I were with you, I would say raise your hand if you've heard of static characters or dynamic characters. Raise your hand. But we're not together physically, so if you raise your hand, thank you so much, because you're participating and you're enjoying this process, and I love that. But nonetheless, while we're doing this virtually, I'm going to talk to you guys about static and dynamic. Static characters are ones that, just like it sounds, they don't do any movement. They just really stay still. You don't see them develop. You don't see them evolve. An example of such would be Donkey off of Shrek. I love Donkey. I love Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy as a comedian is hilarious. Any of his projects that he does, for the most part, I am all for it. Now, I will admit to you, and I know some people are probably going to come for me, I have not seen the whole show, comedy, stand-up of Raw or Delirious. I've seen bits and pieces, That does not take away my card, all right? I'm still coming to the picnic automatically. I'm still at the barbecue. But I have not seen all of Raw or Delirious. Nonetheless, I blame my family because they were trying to, shelter me. All right, I know some people are like, well, what happened when you got older? I got busy. And then I got really busy when I got married and had 10 kids. And now with kids, I can't watch it because I don't want them, picking up, certain things off of it. Nonetheless, I've seen a lot of Eddie Murphy's movies, and I've seen a lot of his stand-up from that time, and I've listened to his music. He's a genius. And when he did Donkey, I can't think of anyone else who would have done it better than him. Love me some Donkey, but he is a static character. Because we really, hi Purple Counselor, thank you so much for joining, sis. We really don't see him change or evolve. He's still the happy-go-lucky Donkey. The only time that we may have seen him, and I've seen all of the Shreks, including the Halloween and the Christmas. The only time that we really do see Donkey change is in Shrek Forever After. I think that's like the whole title. We see him kind of change where he's not as like happy. He's kind of like gloomy, and that's because the witches are, controlling him and having him, act as the horse for their carriage and stuff. So he's depressed. But even with that, it's still Donkey. Like he really, it was like a slight change, but not a whole lot. He's more of a static character. Shrek, on the other hand, was your dynamic character. If we just look at Shrek, the first episode, and the first movie, and I do use a lot of references to cartoons. One, because I love cartoons. Even before I had kids, I was like Sid the Scientist Kid, and I worked as a school teacher in a school system, and I'm not using that as the reason why, but that just added to it. It was like, when I go to school, I had to like relate to the kids. I was like, did you see Word Girl? Like, I was already like on that tip. And then when I had kids, it just worked. It blended. And even now today, I watch a lot of cartoons or PG movies, PG-13, and I get messages from it. So when we talk about Shrek, we see a character that really started off very selfish, very mean, very isolated. And I really do believe that we saw the meanness and the selfishness because he was isolated. And people treated him like an ogre, right? So he was like, I'm just going to, treat you how you guys are always treating me. You don't want to be my friend. So instead of me putting myself out there and being vulnerable, I'm just going to, be who it is that you want me to be. And that's an ogre. So we really do see that. He was like, I just want my swamp. He didn't want to be bothered with. He was cool. All of a sudden, Lord Farquaad moves all these fairy tale land creatures and characters to his area at the swamp. And he's like, I'm going to get me swamp back, right? And you see him go on this adventure with Donkey. And by the end of it, because he meets up with Princess Fiona. I love me some Shrek. He meets up with Princess Fiona, and it's like life-changing because he finds himself being more vulnerable and giving into these loving feelings and emotions. And then he feels betrayed because he thinks that she's talking about him behind his back to Donkey. And then he puts his guards back up. And then, once when it's revealed to him that, she wasn't talking about you, she was talking about someone else, because Donkey's still like, I don't want to, bust everything out. And then he, goes to the church to stop the wedding. And this is something he wouldn't have done in the very beginning of the movie. Because he was very guarded and he was isolated and he liked being like that. He made himself like it. Whereas once when he's exposed to this love that he never had before, this vulnerability and feeling all these emotions, you see him change to where he was like, I want to be with you. And want to become one with someone who receives me and who is like me, who understands me and vibes with me. He didn't have that at first. And maybe I relate to Shrek because I may feel like Shrek sometimes. How many of us feel like Shrek sometimes? Raise your hand where you are. I know we're doing this virtually, but put that hand up. I feel like that sometimes, right? Like where I was the only child and stuff, and I had, my own upbringing, and I know what that's like to get used to being comfortable being by yourself and and having people already view you a certain way to where you go, I'm not even going to put myself out like that. That's how you view me. Fine, I'll be your ogre. But then transitioning through all these different life experiences and finding this sweet emotional vulnerability with someone who loves you genuinely for who you are that you never had before, to where you're like, I like this. This feels different and it makes me uncomfortable, but I don't want to lose it. And that's what we see with Shrek. Like, he literally goes through this transformation to where the Shrek at the end is not the Shrek at the beginning. He is a dynamic character. So very important that as you write, that you identify what characters that you're going to have as your static characters and your dynamic characters. This may not be something that you come to in the very beginning of your storyline. You may not know in the very beginning who your main character is going to be, or who your, side characters are, or who the character is going to be, who's just going to stay monotone. But somewhere in the rhythm of your writing, your characters are going to speak to you and say, this is what I want. This is who I am. This is what I've been through. This is what's going to change me. This is who came in my life. This is who betrayed me. This is who was deceitful. This is who encouraged me. This is who supported me. This is what changed me. And before you know it, you are building the character arc for a dynamic character. Whereas maybe there's a character who's just really, really sweet, down to earth, loves everyone, the sister to whoever. I don't give a dang who you are. They are just that person that's buddy cool. And they are that way all throughout the storyline. They don't change. That's a static character. Or maybe you have someone that is just villainous, a criminal, deceitful, doesn't give a damn. They do whatever they want. That is also a static character, because they're not going to grow up. That's just who they are. So identify as you do your storyline, who is that character that grows and who is that character that just stays the same. And maybe they may have like a little slight elevation, but it's not like theirs may be like, Whereas your dynamic, I'll give you an example. This is the static character. This is the dynamic character. So maybe it goes, right? So you're seeing that the dynamic characters having kind of like a roller coaster, maybe even going back a little. Because we even see Shrek at certain points of, I can't really say trilogy. What do you say when it's like 4 or 5 different movies of the same thing? Nonetheless, within that box set of movies, you see him at times, definitely had the roller coaster effect, but loop into who he used to be to get back where he is. Because when we look at Shrek Forever After, he kind of goes back because he was like, I'm sick and tired of being this, road sideshow circus freak and people just like not really taking me serious, to where I want to go back to who I was. And I believe at some point, for all of us who are older, over the age of 30, over the age of 40, you get to a point, sometimes maybe, where you're like, I want to get back to who I was. I want to be the person that people feared, who people said was this and that. Because right now, everybody just thinks I'm just sensitive and gooey and just nice. And that's not what I am. I want to be able to have my own alone time and be able to have my own freedom and be able to do some things. And I think he was just speaking out of the frustration of the transformation, because transformation is not easy. And that's the cool thing about Shrek, and being able to see him live out his own character arcs and dynamic characterizations, that he's saying, I did this transformation and I don't know how comfortable I am with it now. It's not that I want to lose Fiona or lose my 3 little beautiful kiddos. It's just that I need to be able to have like a peace of mind to roam the forest and have people be frightened of me and not just think that I'm just ooey gooey sensitive, right? I need people to know my identity. But then he realized, I'm giving that all kind of spoilers, but then he realized through that villainous Rumpelstiltskin, who is a static character, he realized how much that he loved his life. He loved the transformation of having, because it wasn't about everyone else like he thought it was. He thought it was about people fearing him and about people not seeing his vulnerable side. He thought that that was what mattered the most. But then after losing everything, he realized Fiona mattered the most and his kids mattered the most. And I think we all need that wake up call, right? Is the same thing with It's a Wonderful Life. It's the same thing with Family Man, which are two of my favorite movies. Watch them every time it's Christmas. Like the week of Christmas or 12 days before Christmas. That movie, or let's just say those movies, are in the lineup. Family Man and oh snap, I just said it. What was the movie I just said with James Stewart? It's a Wonderful Life. Those are in the lineup. Why? Because it's so easy to lose sight and not be grateful. Maybe that's not your issue, but I'll admit that's mine. I will admit that's mine. It's so very easy to look around you, see situations, circumstances, going through life experiences, not having things maybe line up the way that you want it, because I'm a huge planner, and when things don't go the way that I plan, it does really knock me off of my gratefulness, and I have to really refocus, and those kind of movies will help me to get like back and refocus, like who would you be and where would you be and where would these people be in their life without you. And I think too, we kind of forget about the importance of who we are in this big, wide, global community. We kind of go, oh, I don't really matter. I'm not really that important. And so those kind of movies and those kind of books and so forth will remind us, I should say storylines remind us you matter and that you do fit into the global community, that you're needed, especially for those that, that love you the most and that you love the most. Total wake-up call kind of movies. And so you will see that with those kind of storylines, those main characters, the James Stewart, the Nicolas Cage characters, the Shrek characters are your dynamic characters because they are going through a traumatic situation that changes them, that makes them go, aha, I was wrong. They're not the same person that they were, or the same creature that they were from the very beginning of the storyline to the end. Dynamic. And we can definitely say Princess Fiona has always been a dynamic character. She goes from being a human to an ogre to a human to an ogre. Oh, come on now. She's constantly changing. And she even said in one of them, she's like, I made changes for you. And so I was like, you go. But it's true. She made a lot of different changes. She went from, having this fork in the road of being a human princess to making a choice of being an ogre, because whoever she would have gave that kiss to would have been who she would have, become for the rest of her life. And she kissed Shrek and she became an ogre. And we see that, be something that she openly embraces throughout the storyline because she loves him. So she is a dynamic character. Now, since we're talking about dynamic and static characters, you have to have a good character that becomes bad. In the same hand, you have to have a bad character that becomes good. This is also another type of dynamic character storyline. We see this a lot in our sci-fi movies. We see this a lot in our superhero storylines. It's an important element to the story to have this character that goes from being really good, and it's almost like a plot twist. It goes from really, really good, and then we see them make a decision to go bad. And it really does kind of mess with and confuse our cerebellum, right? It makes our brain kind of go like, what's going on? And in the same hand, we may see a bad character that decides to do things that's good, and you still go, I don't know if I can trust them. But it keeps us in tune with the story. And this is really related to humans. How many of us have seen humans or had friends or family members who were just complete jerks, and then they had like a life transformation, they went to Christ, something like that, and they changed over, and you were like, wow, you're really doing different. It happens, and you can't hold their past against them, especially if, they may have been hooked up on drugs. They may have had someone in their life that was toxic to them, and then they display toxic behavior, and once they made a decision to make life changes, they became more of a positive energy force. And you're like, wow, you're really different. And they're not working in a job that's draining them. And now they have a life as an artist, and they're just so happy because they're doing something that they've always wanted to do. And so they're bringing forth more positive energy. And you're like, okay, I can really see that you've changed. You went from being this really nagging, abusive kind of person to where now you're getting more good vibes and love and positivity. In the same hand, you can have someone that was a really great person, and maybe they work at a bank and they start going through some financial issues, and they're like, you know what? I'm about to rob this bank because I need to be able to get some money. I'm tired of not having money. I'm tired of struggling, tired of living, paycheck to paycheck and having my lights go off. And then they, have a heist. I think one of the movies that kind of embodied that concept would be, and I haven't seen the full movie, I know. Some people are like, what is this with you in movies? Some movies I see all the way, some movies I don't, but it doesn't mean I don't appreciate the storyline. Dead Presidents. In that particular movie, and I'm trying to think, I believe, was Samuel L. Jackson on that one? Who is the main one on there? It's the guy from Love Jones. Did someone put his name on there? I can't think of his name, but he was on Dead Presidents. He was also in a movie where he played Mad Dog. My husband said Mad Dog. Okay, no one's playing the name. I can't think of the name. Okay, well, Dead Presidents. That particular storyline, you see a group of veterans. Chris Tucker's on there. A group of veterans who came from fighting at the Vietnam War, and they came back and they didn't have any kind of benefits. They weren't being taken care of. And yeah, Chris Tucker's on it, but who is the main character? He was on Love Jones with Nia Long, or Nia Long. I can't believe I said Nina. She's Nia Long. He was on Love Jones, and I can't think of his name at all. But it's in my head, but I can't think of it. He was on Dead Presidents. He was one of the main characters on there. Lawrence Tate. Yes, Lawrence Tate. There we go. Thank you, sis. Yes. So Purple Concerts and Lawrence Tate, Texas Doll said Lawrence Tate. There we go. Thank you. So he was one of the main characters, and you see him go from defending the country, being this really good-natured, moral individual, to where now he was like, me and my group, we're going to go ahead and rob these banks, and we're going to get this money because the country doesn't care about us. And the sad thing is that literally was happening during that particular time frame, where a lot of your soldiers, especially men of color, were coming back and were not receiving any kind of benefits or being taken care of, and they end up doing criminal activity to take care of their families, or to take care of themselves. And that's the sad thing. I'm glad that the benefits for soldiers has changed up. Now, how much has it changed up? I couldn't tell you, but I am thankful that it's not as bad as what it was then, because that was very, very true. So also an amazing storyline, because we see someone who was a positive role model, who was happy, who was like, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing what they told me to do. I'm defending the country. I'm risking my life. I'm sacrificing myself. But then came back and didn't get any kind of benefits, was not taken care of. And he was like, F it. We're going to go out here, me and my crew, and we're going to, bust heads. We're going to get our money. And that's what they did. And unfortunately, in the very end of that movie, everyone died. I hate to give a spoiler alert. I think one got arrested, and then everyone else, it was not a good situation. Because, what is it? You live by the sword, you die by the sword, right? So, still a great storyline as far as seeing these characters, and in particular the Lawrence Tate character, really transform. And you see the character arcs, and you see the changes, and that's what made his character in particular, and more specifically, a dynamic character. So being able to see that and having your audience experience that will really keep your audience in tune with your storyline, because that's true to life, that people do change for the better and some for the worse. I got to get a drink because my throat's a little bit dry. I didn't know it was going to take as long, but this is really important stuff to put out there about our storylines. All right, next, and I'm almost done, I want to talk about developed and undeveloped characters. This is so important. This is so important because I believe in my heart that some of us who do storylines, we get frustrated with ourselves because we'll have a character especially because we're dealing with dolls. And these dolls are beautiful, okay? Mattel has beautiful dolls. Naturalistas has beautiful dolls. Desiree Dolls has beautiful dolls. Beautiful dolls. And we can get so attached to our dolls to the point where we're pulling a story from them. And sometimes your character is saying, I don't have any more to give you. I don't have any more to give you. I own a salon and I do hair and that's it. And you're trying to, figure out what college they went to, who they're engaged to, how many kids they got, what street they live on. And they don't have anything else to give you. That's okay. I want to let you know that's okay. For those of us who have been struggling and trying to pull and siphon more information from our characters, and our characters are like, It's okay if your character is saying, my name is Stacy, I work at this salon, I love my work, and I'm fine. I'm going to tell you why. The undeveloped character and the developed character. I was watching the movie Paw Patrol. Hi, Erica, Shantae. Thank you so much for joining. I was watching Paw Patrol with my kids. Like I said, I do a lot of reference to cartoons because that's what we watch the most. And I realized this dynamic of the developed character and the undeveloped character. The Paw Patrol movie, which is a really awesome movie, and I'm about to give out spoiler alerts just to let you know, that movie centers on Chase. And Chase is like this really cool character, and they've got to go to, I can't think of the city that they live in. Hi! But they've got to go, they live in like Adventure Bay. I don't know if it's Adventure Bay. I want to say it's Adventure Bay. Now they got to go to like Adventure City. And apparently Chase comes from there. Like that's where he was found. But he was abandoned there before Ryder found him. And the city was real big and he was frightened. And he didn't realize it bothered him too much until they had a case that they had to go take care of at Adventure City. So Ryder sits him down and they talk. And he's like, listen, you can do this. Just encouraging him. And they get there, he's kind of frightened, but he's still, trying to encourage himself that he can get this done. And just different experiences take place to where he becomes very fearful and he runs off and he gets captured and he just gets defeated and he's like, it's over, it's done. And I believe that although this is a cartoon, cartoons and characters are really based off of a lot of our own personal emotions and experiences that we have in life. And it may not be specifically that we got captured and put into a dog kennel, but there are certain things in your life that makes you feel stuck. Okay, maybe you won't admit it, but I will put up your hands. I put up two because there are things in my life to where I feel so stuck. Even today, we had so many things that took place, especially with my little ones. I got 10 kiddos. I'm not going to fabricate it and make it seem like I just got these like kids that are just like, oh, and it's just so very, they're not bad kids. I have awesome kids. They're amazing kids, but they're kids. You know what I mean? So all kinds of things are just taking place. They were just kind of wild. One done hit his head on the railing or his nose on the railing and other stuff done took place. And I was just like, wow, there is a force that just doesn't want me to do this. I don't know. And my husband's encouraged me and he's like, it's because you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to do it. All this stuff is happening because you're supposed to do it. But it felt like this is going to be the last little life for a little minute. And I didn't want to do that. But this isn't the first time that I felt that pressure come over where it's like, do you keep writing the book? Do you publish the devotional? Do you send that to the editor? Do you make the pictures? You have so much going on in your life. I still got to make dinner. Can I do this? And it makes you feel stuck. And it makes you have to confront your fears. And when you're in a position where you feel like you have to be the hero, you can feel real defeated real easy. When I talk to you guys about Bible characters and we look at Elijah, and he was in the cave after confronting Jezebel and he felt defeated. He was like, I just went from calling on God to make fire out of water on some sticks, on some, wooden sticks, on wooden branches. And Jezebel says she's going to kill me. And I don't know if I can still do this. And he runs from her and feeling defeated and feeling stuck, he puts himself in a cave. I relate to that on so many levels. And when I watched Paw Patrol and I saw Chase, I related to that because there's different things that happen in life to where you go, gosh, I feel so defeated. I feel like I'm a pup in a cage and I remember what it was like to be abandoned and I don't know if I can do this. And it took the static character, the undeveloped character, because he's a dynamic character. We're seeing him change. He is our developed character. We're seeing him evolve and go through his roller coaster and loop-de-loops, right? But Liberty is pretty much the same throughout. From the very beginning, she's like, I'm Liberty, and I love my city, and I'm not leaving for anything. And we can get this. I believe in the Paw Patrol. That's who she is. And she goes to this kennel to rescue the hero, to encourage him and tell him it's okay to be afraid. And everyone gets afraid. But what makes you a hero is that you confront your fear and you still go and save the day. And it was encouraging. I know now I'm doing like a movie review, right? But it was encouraging because that's the difference between us and someone else who may just lay down and give up and not do anything, is being able to take that step forward and doing exactly what it was that you felt like you couldn't do. I didn't think I'd be on here tonight. That's why it took a little bit longer. We've had so many things go on, and it's my husband and I, our little kiddos and stuff, and it was like, oh, this is not going to take place. But I was not going to waste his encouragement. He encouraged me much like Liberty encouraged Chase, and I was like, I am not going to waste my husband, the man of God, encouragement to me, because it was given to me for a reason, for me to be able to feel and strengthen to confront what was hard. It was hard. It was hard today to get on here. I'm not going to lie. And so when I saw the movie Paw Patrol, I really did relate to Chase and what he was going through. And it helped so much to have his origin story, because I never had it before. I think it may have been said like every once in a while. But then to have like the visualization through that particular movie, that really did help. So we learned about his origin, his beginning, why it bothered him so much to go to Adventure City compared to being at Adventure Bay. We find out how Ryder found him. Now, me personally, like I told my kiddos, I was like, I would love to know Ryder's origin story, but that's another story for a different day, as my dad used to say. So we'll find out that story on a different day. But he learns from the static character that even heroes get afraid, but as being able to get back up, confront your fears, and save the day. That's what makes the difference. And he's able to get back up. So we need our undeveloped characters, because you never know how your undeveloped character, your static character, can really make a difference in the developed character's life and in the path and experience of the developed character. So here it is. We have the developed character, Chase. And he didn't have Sky or Rubble or, his name's an M. I can't even think of it. My kids are upstairs. I can't think of his name. But he's another really important Paw Patrol. I can't think of his name. But he's another Paw Patrol pup that's really important. But you don't see those Paw Patrols go to him in order to encourage him and say, hey, you can do this. And they do come and rescue him. They bust through that, through the wall and rescue him. And it's amazing. It is really, really amazing. Hi, Toasted Tiny Stuff. Thank you for joining. It's really, really amazing how they come and rescue him. If you haven't seen Paw Patrol the movie, if you have kids, if you don't have kids, if you have nieces and nephews, watch it. Watch it. If you don't feel ashamed, watch it by yourself. If you have to have an excuse to watch it and you don't have your own kids, bring your nieces and nephews in. Watch it with your kids. Watch it by yourself. It's a really, really, really good movie, especially when we talk about storyline, because being able to see how they use the undeveloped / static character, it makes a huge difference. We don't see the static character join the Paw Patrol. You do see them give her a special gift. I don't want to bust all the spoilers, okay? But you do see them give her a special gift. And, that makes a huge difference. And I told my kids, I was like, you could tell that the writers kind of wrestled with, what do we do with this character? Do we have her join the Paw Patrol, or what do we do? And I honestly think that they dealt with it in the best way possible, so they could keep the integrity of the group together with the Paw Patrol that everyone knows and loves, right? But they used that static character in such a special way and really gave that static character a very essential role without having to have her in every scene. So if you have a static character, make sure, when we talk about Paw Patrol, we do have static characters: Sky, Everett, who lives in Alaska, Tracker, the dinosaur truck, Elle, the big truck pup, and the one cat, Wild, who is the motorcycle cat, and he's part of the cat pack. These are the names that my kiddos gave me that were static characters. They have a really good understanding of what undeveloped and developed characters are. They gave me all these names. I was like, okay, yes, and I wrote it down. So I would not want to waste the information that they gave me without being able to say, hi, my froggy stuff. How are you, my froggy stuff? Hope you're having an awesome day and an awesome holiday weekend. So we're on here talking about developed and undeveloped characters, dynamic and static characters, and how much you need them for your storyline. You need both. But how you will know which ones are dynamic and which ones are static is really going to depend on how much of the story that you're able to pull from them. Like I said, if you have a character that's not really giving you a lot of story other than my name is Stacy and I work at the salon, I love what I do, then you just have to keep it right there. Now, can Stacy be used in a really good way? Yeah, maybe she encourages someone. Maybe she gives them some information that really does help move the story forward. If we didn't have Liberty in the story of the Paw Patrol, we would have never have seen Chase get out of that particular dog kennel. So we needed Liberty. She was the most, vibrant character to do that. I couldn't really see any other character of the Paw Patrol being able to get him out of the dump, because who she was as a character was going to, encourage him and give him her positive energy and tell him, hey, it's okay to be afraid. You can do this, even while being afraid. You need your static character. So how will you know who's going to be your undeveloped character, who will be your developed character? And I'm almost done. We're going to talk about this last few points. And there's a bunch of questions. You may end up wanting to write these down. If you can't write these down right now, I will be having this live recorded on my page. You can go back to it, listen to it, put your finger on the video, write it down. So, put the finger on the video to pause it. Unfortunately, there's not like an actual pause button on this particular platform. So yeah, put your finger on there and pause it, or rewind and write down the question and release it and go back and pause it. So I'm just telling you, you're going to want to write these down. I got this information while watching Pixiar in a Box, which is an awesome and amazing series online. You can find it on YouTube. I discovered it through my kids because of the work that they do. We homeschool, and that was one of the homeschool curriculums that a few of them are doing. It's been amazing. I'm learning it with them, and I'm like, wow, like even as an indie author, and like I said, I've got 41 books online. You can find them. I'm learning so much more with Pixiar in a Box. I went to the MFA at Spalding University. Very good school. Awesome school. Not saying anything against them. I have a writing mentor. I've done a live with him on here, Charlie Schulman. You can find that in my series as well. Anyone Can PlayWrite. You can find that, in a series about 3-4 months ago. I learned a lot. I learned a lot during my MFA program. I learned a lot from my mentor. And I'm learning so much more through life experiences and this course that my kids are taking called Pixiar in a Box. Look it up. Of course, it's not going to have all the coursework, but it will have the videos. And those videos, I'm telling you, you can just eat it up. It's so good, so good, so good. Okay, so here goes some questions that you're going to want to write down. Why is it so important to get this story out there? Why is it so important to create this character's voice? These are essential questions because this is going to help you decide and really find out, is this a dynamic character? Is this a developed character? Or is this a static character? Is this an undeveloped character? Maybe this character doesn't really have a lot to put into the storyline and they're not going to be as important, but they still have a role. Every character that's on the Enterprise starship is as important as Kirk, Captain Kirk, no matter how small the role is. But we may not see them. Even the ones who have gone to different planets and been killed, they were still important because Kirk fought for them. He was like, you killed my crew member. They were still important, even though they had like a very, very small role. We just saw them like, nah. You're like, oh, wow, I love me some Star Trek, especially with Captain Kirk. But I do, and Spock, like the original, I'm so an original girl. That's what we were watching in the house. Hi, Renna Ford, how are you doing? So I love me some Star Trek. We'll have to have a conversation about that later. Not today, not today. So why is it so important to get the story out there? Why is it so important for this character's voice to be heard? Why is this story important? These are quite important questions to ask. Right now, with my own storyline, I'm doing one about the mother-daughter Thanksgiving brunch. And I kind of thought I would be done with it because I did it early. But me being trigger happy with my daggone camera and just having to get so much of the story out because the characters were talking to me, I was like, click, 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 click. And then me having, life and stuff happening. I'm just able to post when I can. But nonetheless, it was an important story to me because the characters were speaking. They were like, hey, me. I cannot tell you how many hours it took to do that particular photo shoot. Like literally dressing them itself was like 2 hours or 2.5 hours. Literally, because I had to figure out what their style was. You can't just throw anything on them. It's not going to gel right with their character. So it had to be something that fit their personality. And then when I was, taking these photos, it was just oozing out like more and more and more of the story. And I had to be obedient to it. And it was important to me because I believe that mother-daughter and just mother-child dynamics is really interesting. It is so interesting. In my own personal life, I'm an only child raised by a single parent. My parents got a divorce when I was 1. So I don't even know if I was like all the way 1. I think I was 1 though, because I actually have memories of being in the courthouse. So I was extremely young when their divorce was finalized, and it created like a strained relationship between my dad and I. And so that's like, another kind of theme that is interesting and intrigues me. But when I look at mother-daughter relationships, it's really, really interesting to me. And I do a lot of my own personal research on it, and, be it, psychology journals and articles and watching different shows and documentaries. I'm that deep with it. And, talking to other people and getting information from them about their own personal life stories. And a lot of it has helped to encourage me through my own path. It's interesting. And me being a mom now, mom of 10 kids, it's different. It's really, really different. And being able to be nurturing and be vulnerable and be visual and be visible and being present, being healthy, being nurturing, being nourishing, it's a whole collection of a lot to juggle. Especially for anyone who was raised by a single parent, it's not so much that we didn't get those things. And my mom had her own business too. So it was like a lot of work. And, she was a seamstress and designer. So, there was a portion of time where she worked with her models. There was a portion of time where she's drawing. There's a portion of time where she's sewing. There's a portion of time where she's networking. Then there's the big move that takes place. And then all kinds of personal stuff just jumbled all in. And it created for a long time an enmeshed relationship. And so I'm constantly intrigued by how mothers and daughters interact. Even here on this platform, it interests me whenever I read someone's caption and they'll say, this jacket was knitted by my mom. And, we're talking about someone, I'm 40, so we're talking about, someone who's my age or older or a little bit younger. And so it makes me curious, like, what is your relationship with your mom? Is it enmeshed? Are you guys distant? Is this, like how do you guys relate to each other? And how does that impact your life? Is it a positive way? Is it negative? So I'm always interested in it. And that's what made me want to do the storyline with the mother-daughter brunch. And I did a lot of different research to be able to, jumble up storylines and watching Smothered from like season 1 all the way to season 4. So I could get a better idea of the different styles of parenting that mothers do, regardless if they're single parent or even if they're married, and how they kind of disregard what the husband has to say because they're like, this is my child and I'm going to do what I want. And then you may have something that's like, I'm going to let daddy in and see what he says and value what he says. So it's interesting to me. So that's what made me want to put out a storyline about mother and daughter. And you're probably going to see it a lot more. Quite honestly, when you look over the books that I have, the 41 books, you'll see mother-daughter themes throughout. And I didn't even know that. I'm going to be honest with you. One day I sat down with myself and I was like, let me really see what is the thing that I talk about most in my books. And mother-daughter happens to be a primary theme that I have in a lot of my books. There's a book out there called Sweet Irene. Sweet Irene is actually one of my favorite ones that I wrote, next to Middle of Eden. I got my own favorites. I got like 3 favorites. The Case of the Missing Purple Cloak. That's a huge one. I've gotten like great reviews off of it. I love it myself. My kiddos love it. I wrote it for my kids and then published it. And I like every time I've had a book signing, just positive reviews from it. And I personally love that one. The Case of the Missing Purple Cloak. Middle of Eden, I wrote before I even had kids, and it was based off of my own personal life experiences at that time, but not totally, you know, you embellish and fabricate, and it was also people who I had met along the way, and it was interesting. It was very, very interesting. Nonetheless, I will say that it is for a more mature audience. The Case of Missing Purple Cloak is for, you know, you can read it to your kids. You can read it yourself. You can read it to your kids. I would not advise reading Middle of Eden to your kids. That's more of like college age, possibly high school, but definitely college on up. And then the other book that I was just talking about was Sweet Irene. I love Sweet Irene. That's another one that kind of has more of an adult topic. High school could read it. College on up could read it. But I love it. But it does deal with mother-daughter theme. And it's just a very interesting read. So definitely go on Amazon. Like I told you, my pseudonym is r.k.lemons. That's double M. Just remember something that's sour. And I'm sweet, like lemonade. Lemons-Weber with 1B. W-E-B-E-R. And check out those titles. And I would love to hear back from you, because I'm not really doing book signings like I used to. I'll go back to it. But right now, having my, 17-month-old, it's different. It's totally different. So being able to schedule that isn't as easy to do at this particular season. So once you get those books, DM me. Let me know what your thoughts were. I love hearing back from people about any of the books that they purchased. So why is this storyline important? The storyline was important to me because mother-daughter dynamics is an ongoing thing, right? Hi. Thank you so much for joining. Cookarican. Thank you so much. Okay. Does it make an impact? Is another question asked. Does your character make an impact? Does your storyline make an impact? To what target group are you aiming this for? It's just like having a bow and arrow. Who are you trying to aim this to? Who are you directing this to? So when I write, and like I said, hi, with my current storyline with the mother-daughter dynamic, I'm writing to people who are mothers. I'm writing to people who are daughters. I'm writing to people who are, who observe mother and daughters, right? And they're kind of like, oh, that looks kind of weird. Or they may be like, oh, okay, that's cool. Or maybe like, I want something like that. People who are aspiring to be mothers, people who are still learning how to be mothers. Hi, I made it better too. How are you feeling? I hope everything's going good. So that was really my target audience. It was like, I want to write this to people who understand what it's like to even, most importantly, be mothered. For the most part, we've all had moms, right? But we all had different style of parentings from our moms. There have been some, I guess I'm going to have to do like a different live about different styles of parenting. Like I said, I've done a lot of different studying. Like there's dismissive moms, there's smothering moms, and there's like 5 or 6 different styles of parenting that people do. And especially as moms, and I think that we kind of categorize moms to be very nurturing and loving and embodying this feel-good, personality, but not all moms do. And some moms do, and some are supportive, and some are loving, and some are great, and some you have great moments with, and then, you know what I mean? And then you can have situations where you may have a mom that's struggling, and there may be poverty, and they just don't have the same amount of time in order to be squishy with you because they got to get stuff done. So they may be like a busy mom, but they're busy for the purpose of trying to take care of you. You may have the mom that's just doesn't care, like they may have the money and stuff, but just don't really care. And then you can have the mom that's just all over you. So there's all different kind of parenting styles. That's a different live that we'll have on a different day. But I felt like that was a relative topic because everyone at some point has been mothered. And if someone's been an orphan and they're like, I don't know what that's like, they're coming from their experiences of maybe being in foster care or being in orphanages and not having it, and then having that abandonment that's there. And then if they should end up becoming a mom, they now may struggle with, how do I do this? Because they never had the experience of being a daughter. So that's an interesting dynamic, and that's where really my bow and arrow was at. So that's where I aimed at. So you want to know, who is your target group? Who is your target group? Is the story or character important just to me? Or is it going to be important to a wide audience? Because it could just be something that's important to me. Maybe I love dogs and I want to be able to show a poodle because a poodle means so much to me. And I just love poodles, and I don't really care what anyone else says. They can love, whatever other dogs that they like. But for me, I'm going to put a poodle in my storyline because a poodle means so much to me. And I may have read articles that said poodles aren't that great of a dog and poodles are ill-tempered. And I'm just saying, I haven't really done a study on poodles. So if you have a poodle, don't get upset. She said, girl, about the storyline. Yeah. Being able to know your target group. And, being able to know that people come from different dynamics. This is why research is important. Don't just pull from your own experiences. Research it. Ask questions. Find out. Go ahead and YouTube it. Find out what you need to know. Live life. Go volunteer some places in order to be able to produce the best storyline. Because you never know where it could go. Yeah, we're doing things on Instagram, but you don't know what other producers or directors or even writers are looking at you. They want you to co-write something with them. You don't know what the future holds. You don't know if you have a storyline that makes you go back and say, I can make that into a book. There are so many different platforms nowadays that you can do indie authoring off of as well. Or I should say, that you can publish your book as an indie author with. There are so many other platforms that you can be able to publish your book with that you don't have to be an indie author. You can be able to go mainstream. So it's really up to you. But know that if you go mainstream, that, your dividends to get, cut. You're kind of to limit royalties on a slimmer level. But, you will get your books in different places. I'm just saying, you don't know where it could go. So don't kind of like change yourself by saying, I'm not going to research, I'm just going to go by my own life. Research, because eventually you may end up hitting a spot of your writing where either it can become too personal and you don't want to put it out there, and then it can now I'm coming from personal experience. I've got a lot of books out there and I've written stuff that may have felt too personal, and then it kind of made me close up and I didn't want to finish the writing. It made me cry too much. I wasn't healed in that area, and I needed to be able to enmesh the storyline or the character with other pieces of stories from other people, if that makes sense. So research. Even right now with my first Indigenous character, Heidi, I'm researching, honey, because my husband, he has Blackfoot and I believe Cherokee on his side of the family. I have Cherokee on my side of the family. Nonetheless, I don't know the language. And I really wanted to make Heidi and her brother Knightley and their mom have that authentic a background and authenticity to their cultural background. So I wanted to be able to integrate their original language into, how she talks now. So it took research, and I'm still going to read it. Even with her boyfriend, Kai, who's a surfer, I research. I don't go surfing, maybe one day, I don't know, because it's kind of dangerous. So I don't know if I'll do that. I'll probably go bungee jumping before I do that. I don't know. But he's a surfer, so his language is different. I research it. So whenever I have Kai, I'm researching to see, well, how would he say this and how would he say that? Because I've actually had surfers on my page like my posts, which let me know, okay, I must have spoke authentically about how Kai would say this. Because if I didn't, those surfers would have came back from my throat and probably been like, hey, that's not okay. That's not how we say that. We wouldn't say that. We would say he was a Barney. So it was important for me to be able to say the right word for the background that he has. And the same thing with Heidi. So definitely research. And know if this is something that's just important to you, or is this going to be something that's important to everyone. When it comes to the mother-daughter thing, I feel in my heart, and I know in my heart, that's something that's important to me, and that's something that's important to everyone as well. And why this story? Why this story? Why is this story so important? Why put this out there? And I believe that that's what's going to help you know who is your dynamic character. Hi, Deb, Owen796. How are you? And who is your static character? Who is your developed character? Who is your undeveloped character? For me right now, I am going to put the spoiler out there. Sheeta is still involved in the storyline. Gloria, of course, is going to be involved in the storyline. But I am transitioning to where Heidi is going to get more of the spotlight because the storyline is really calling more from her. And she's speaking more to me as a character. In the past, she didn't really speak to me as much. She was just like that pretty face photographer. And I was cool with that. You know, I'm not going to try to get too much from you other than what you want to give. She didn't want to really give too much. And then over time, I was like, oh, okay, she and Kai look good together. And they had a certain chemistry where, and you can tell whenever your dolls have a certain chemistry, you know, the hand will lay a little bit, you know, more natural. And you're like, oh, okay, their eyes are, you know, looking at each other. You don't have to force it. I was like, I like them together. And I could tell that they liked, you know, being together. You know, there was just like that real good character energy. And I was able to develop more from that. So right now, just to put it out there, you are going to see more of Heidi. I'm really, really looking forward to exploring who she is as a character, as well as exploring her relationship with her mom and who she is outside of her mom, as well as who she is with her mom. So definitely stay posted to that. Guys, I said a whole lot. And I thank you guys for being with me today. Just a recap, we talked about this beautiful Naturalista right here. Kelsey, definitely, even if you have a Naturalista doll or several, go back and get some more. Give them to your friends. Like I said, Christmas came early for me, and I'm really, really excited. And I plan on playing with her hair and doing some really fun things. I'm not going to rebody her, but she will be part of our Sacred Pair community. She's going to do something great and awesome. And I have an idea in my head, but I don't want to give any spoiler alerts. So just stay tuned to my page so you can see it. Also, we talked about undeveloped and developed characters. We talked about dynamic and static characters. And like I said, with the questions that were given out to help you really, you know, formulate more of an idea with your storyline, you're going to want to write those down. And I also share with you guys that I watch Pixiar in a Box, which is, those videos are available on YouTube for free. It's not going to have all the curriculum information, but it will have the short videos on there and giving you more of an opportunity to just kind of like have those imaginative thought processes to create the storyline and create and develop in more depth your characters. So I thank you guys again. Happy holidays. I hope everybody had an amazing Thanksgiving, that you ate until your tummy was full and that you enjoyed it. We did things a little non-traditional here. We had a Subway bar. Kids loved it. And they did eat until they got full. They got so full that some of them felt sick. They were like, I don't feel good. I think it was the circle cheese. Oh, thank you. She said this was very informative. Thank you so much, Erica Shantae. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, we had a very good non-traditional Thanksgiving. I was not going to be doing all that cooking because anytime ever I have to cook, I have to, like, start early on in that week, either on a Sunday or a Monday. But, like, a couple weeks beforehand, like, I have to, you know, plan out the menu and plan out what can be made first and what to put into the freezer. And because we have a large-sized family, so it's like, what do you make first? What do you put in the freezer? What will last in the freezer? What will last in the refrigerator without spoiling before Thanksgiving? What has to be made on that day? It's nerve-wracking. It is. It's like, it's too much. I said, not this year. Not this year. We're doing the Subway bar. So I feel good about it. Love this. Oh, thank you, my froggy stuff. Thank you so much. I love you guys, and I thank you so much for being with me. And happy belated Thanksgiving. Again, you guys have an awesome, amazing weekend, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.